The Kalshi app is a federally regulated prediction market where you can bet real money on the outcome of events, sports, politics, music, even the weather. And unlike a casino, the house doesn't set the odds. You trade directly against other users. So the real question is it actually worth your time and money? Or is it just a fancy way to lose cash faster? Kalshi is legit. It is legal in all 50 states, and it is the only US exchange of its kind regulated by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or CFTC. But the catch is, it works nothing like a normal sportsbook. The fees are higher than you expect, and the learning curve will frustrate you if you are used to just clicking a button and betting on the Chiefs. If you are a serious bettor who gets limited by every sportsbook, Kalshi is a lifeline. If you just want to throw $20 on the Super Bowl, stick to DraftKings. So what actually is Kalshi? Think of it like the New York Stock Exchange, but instead of shares of Apple, you are buying contracts that pay out $1 if a specific event happens. For example, a contract that says, Patrick Mahomes throws for over 300 yards in the Super Bowl might cost 60 cents right now. If he does it, that contract becomes worth $1 and you make 40 cents profit per contract. If he does not, the contract goes to zero and you lose your 60 cents. You are not betting against the house. You are betting against every other user on the platform, and the price of the contract reflects what the crowd thinks the probability is. A 60-cent price means the market thinks there is about 61% chance it happens. Now, the first thing you need to do is sign up. And this is where Kalshi actually shines compared to offshore books. You enter your name, email, and social security number, and they verify your identity, just like a brokerage. No messing around with crypto wallets, no worrying if the site will disappear tomorrow. Once you are in, you deposit money. Bank transfers are free, and debit card deposits carry a 2% processing fee. So if you put in $100 with a debit card, only $98 actually lands in your account. That is a small hit, but it adds up fast if you deposit frequently. My advice is, link your bank account and do one big transfer. Now here is where most people get tripped up. You look at the interface and see a list of events with prices like 0.62, 0.45, 0.88, and you have no idea what you are looking at. Those numbers are the cost of one contract in cents. So 0.62 means 62 cents per contract. You also see a column for volume, which is how many contracts have been traded on that event, and an order book with bids and asks. The bid is the highest price someone is willing to pay right now, and the ask is the lowest price someone is willing to sell for. If you want to buy immediately, you pay the ask price. If you want to wait and maybe get a better deal, you place a limit order at your own price and hope someone sells to you. Let me walk you through a real example so you can see the math. Say you think the Kansas City Chiefs will win the Super Bowl, and the current ask price is 0.55 or 55 cents. You buy 100 contracts at that price, so you pay $55. If the Chiefs win, each contract pays $1, so you get back $100, a profit of $45. If they lose, your contracts are worth zero, and you lose the full $55. That is the core mechanic. But here is the part nobody tells you. You can also buy no contracts, which pay out if the event does not happen. If you think the Chiefs will lose, you buy no contracts. If the yes price is 55 cents, the no price is the inverse, roughly 45 cents, because the two prices must add up to about $1 minus the fee. So you can bet on either side of any event, and your odds are locked in the moment you place the trade. If you buy at 55 cents and the price later drops to 30 cents, you still get paid $1 if you are right. Your profit is locked at the price you bought. That is exactly how a stock trade works. You are not at the mercy of some sportsbook changing the line on you. Now let us talk about the fees, because this is where Kalshi gets sneaky. The fee structure is not a flat percentage. It changes based on how close the contract price is to 50 cents. At a price of 50 cents, the fee is about 3.5%. At a price of 1 cent or 99 cents, the fee drops to around 0.7%. So the closer the market is to a coin flip, the more Kalshi takes. On a typical sports event where the contract price is around 60 cents, you are looking at a fee of roughly 2 to 2.5%. That is higher than the juice on a standard sportsbook bet, which is usually around 4.5% on a point spread. So Kalshi is actually cheaper on some bets and more expensive on others. But the real advantage is not the fee, it is that you never get limited. If you are a winning bettor, you know the pain. You hit a few big parlays on FanDuel and suddenly you are limited to $10 max bets. Kalshi does not do that. Because you are trading against other users, not against the house, the platform has no incentive to kick you off. You can bet as much as you want on any event, as long as there's someone on the other side willing to take your action. That is the killer feature for serious bettors. No limits, no bans, no being treated like a criminal for being good at math. But there is a downside, and it is a big one. On major events like the Super Bowl or the presidential election, there are millions of dollars in contracts trading, and you can get in and out easily. On niche events, like who will win the Grammy for Best New Artist, the volume might be a few $1,000 and the spread between the bid and ask can be huge. You might see a bid at 40 cents and an ask at 50 cents, meaning you lose 10 cents per contract just by entering the trade. That is a 20% haircut before the event even starts. So you have to be smart about which events you trade. Stick to the high volume markets where the spread is tight. Now let me answer the questions I see in every comment section. First, how do withdrawals work? You request a withdrawal to your linked bank account, and it costs $2 for an ACH transfer. There is no fee if you withdraw via debit card, but there may be limits on how much you can take out at once. The process usually takes 1 to 3 business days. No limit on the amount, but that $2 fee stings if you are withdrawing small amounts. So batch your withdrawals into larger sums to minimize the hit. Second, how are winnings taxed? This is critical. Kalshi is a regulated US exchange, so they report your activity to the IRS. If you make over $600 in profit in a year, they will send you a 1099 form. You report all your gains and losses as capital gains and losses, just like stocks. You cannot deduct gambling losses against your winnings unless you itemize, and even then, it is complicated. If you are a casual bettor, expect to pay your normal income tax rate on any profits. If you are a high volume trader, you need a tax professional who understands prediction markets. Third, how does Kalshi compare to other platforms like Polymarket or Predictit? Polymarket is the biggest competitor, but is not regulated by the CFTC. It runs on crypto and is based offshore, so you have to deal with crypto wallets and the risk that the site could be shut down by regulators. Predictit is regulated, but limited to political events, and has strict position limits of $850 per contract. Kalshi sits in the middle. Regulated, no position limits, and you can trade on sports, politics, weather, finance, and music. It is the most versatile legal option in the US. Fourth, can you actually make money consistently? Most people lose. The market is efficient on major events, and the fees eat into your edge. The only way to consistently profit is to find mispriced contracts on niche events where the crowd is wrong, or to use limit orders to buy at a discount when someone panics and sells. That is the strategy. You do not chase the hot pick. You look for events where your research gives you a clear edge, and you place limit orders at a price that gives you positive expected value. For example, if you calculate that a team has 71% chance to win, but the contract is priced at 60 cents, that is 11% edge. You buy at 60 cents, and over a large number of similar bets, you come out ahead. But it takes patience, discipline, and a solid bankroll. The biggest risk is not the platform, it is you. The learning curve is real. If you are used to clicking a button and betting the spread, the order book and limit orders will confuse you. You will make mistakes, buy at the wrong price, and lose money to fees. Deposit $100 and trade only 1 or 2 events until you understand how the mechanics work. Do not go all in on the first day. So who is Kalshi actually for? It is for the bettor who gets limited by every sportsbook, the trader who wants to hedge a real-world position, or the curious person who wants to bet on politics or the weather without breaking the law. It's not for the casual fan who wants to throw $5 on the game while watching with friends. The interface is too slow, the fees are too high for small bets, and the experience is not fun. It feels like trading stocks, not betting on sports. The main alternative people compare it to is traditional sportsbooks like DraftKings or FanDuel. Those are better for casual bets, worse for serious bettors. If you bet small amounts and want a simple experience, use a sportsbook. If you bet large amounts and want no limits, use Kalshi. The two platforms serve completely different audiences. Overall, I would give the Kalshi app a 4 out of 5. It does exactly what it promises, it is legal everywhere, and the no limits feature is a game changer for winning bettors. But the fee structure is confusing, the liquidity on niche events is poor, and the learning curve will frustrate a lot of people. If you are willing to put in the time to learn how it works, it is the best regulated prediction market in the US. If you just want to gamble, stick to the sportsbook. Let me cover a few things. Most reviews skip entirely. First, the mobile app experience. Kalshi does have a mobile app and it is functional, but it is not great. The interface is cramped, the order book is hard to read on a small screen, and placing a limit order takes several taps instead of one click. If you are used to the slick, smooth experience of a sportsbook app, Kalshi will feel clunky. You can still trade, but you are better off using the desktop website for anything serious. The app is fine for checking prices or placing a quick market order, but do not try to scalp small edges on your phone. The lag and interface will cost you. Second, let me talk about the types of events you can actually trade, because most reviews only mention sports and politics. Kalshi has categories for weather, finance, and even music awards. For example, you can bet on whether the temperature in New York will hit 100 degrees on a specific day, or whether the Fed will raise interest rates at their next meeting. These markets are fascinating because they attract a different crowd. The weather markets tend to have very low liquidity, so the spreads are wide, but if you have a strong opinion on something like hurricane landfall, you can find mispriced contracts. The finance markets are more active, especially around Fed decisions and economic data releases. If you follow the economy closely, these can be your edge. Third, here's something nobody tells you about the order book. You can actually use Kalshi like a hedge. Say you own a house in Florida, and you are worried about hurricane damage. You can buy yes contracts on a hurricane making landfall near your area. If the hurricane hits, your contracts pay out, offsetting some of your real-world losses. If it does not hit, you lose the premium, which is basically an insurance premium. That is a legitimate use case that has nothing to do with gambling. The same logic applies to farmers hedging against bad weather, or investors hedging against political outcomes. Kalshi is a financial tool, not just a betting site, and that distinction matters. Fourth, let me address the question of getting banned or limited for winning. I already said Kalshi does not limit you, but there is a nuance. If you are consistently profitable, the platform does not care. However, if you abuse the system, like using multiple accounts or engaging in manipulative trading, they will ban you. That is standard for any regulated exchange. But the key difference from a sportsbook is that Kalshi has no incentive to kick off winning traders. They make money on fees, not on your losses. So as long as you trade honestly, you are safe. Fifth, the fee structure deserves one more layer of explanation because it is confusing. The fee is built into the price of the contract, not charged separately. So when you buy at 55 cents, the actual cost to you is 55 cents plus the fee, but the fee is already factored into the price you see. That means you cannot avoid the fee by choosing a different payment method or timing your trade. It is always there, and it changes based on the contract price. The best way to minimize fees is to trade contracts priced near 1 cent or 99 cents, where the fee is lowest. But those are usually the most certain outcomes, so the profit potential is tiny. You trade off fee cost against potential return. Sixth, let me talk about the psychological side of trading on Kalshi. Because you're trading against other people, not the house, the market can be emotional. If a big news event happens, prices can swing wildly in seconds. You might see a contract drop from 60 cents to 40 cents in a single minute. If you panic and sell, you lock in a loss. If you stay calm and wait, the price often recovers. That is exactly like stock trading. The people who lose the most on Kalshi are the ones who trade emotionally, chasing prices up and selling at the bottom. The winners are the ones who do their research, place limit orders, and wait. Seventh, one practical tip. Use the My Positions page to track your open contracts. It shows your cost basis, current value, and profit or loss in real time. That is a feature most sportsbooks do not have, and it is invaluable for managing your bankroll. You can see exactly how much you have at risk and how your portfolio is performing. Treat it like a stock portfolio, not a betting slip. If you are down on a position, do not double down to chase the loss. That is the fastest way to blow up your account. Eighth, a quick note on the types of orders you might not use at first. Kalshi supports stop-loss orders, which automatically sell your contracts if the price drops to a certain level. That is a risk management tool that most bettors never use, but it can save you from a total loss. If you buy a contract at 60 cents and set a stop-loss at 40 cents, you cap your downside at 20 cents per contract. So to recap, start small, avoid emotional trades, use limit orders, track your positions like a portfolio, set stop losses to cap downside, trade niche events only if you have an edge, and remember Kalshi is a tool, not a game. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe and keep your edge sharp.